Marijuana officially on the ballot. With November election less than a month away, we're breaking down both sides who are both for and against legalizing it.
Today we got rainfall for the first time since September 23rd. It's October 11th and we have more rainfall on the way for Wednesday morning. I have the latest timeline in my first alert forecast.
In our top story tonight, Columbia police arrest a man for killing a woman with a hammer and putting her body in a closet. We're digging into the court documents. This is KOMU 8 News at 10.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Tonight we begin with an update to a story we first brought you live from the scene last night. Prosecutors have now charged a Columbia man with murder for a gruesome death on High Quest Drive in Columbia. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. The probable cause statement filed today says police believe 37-year-old Adam Connor is responsible. Officers say he beat a mentally and physically disabled woman to death with a hammer and then hid her body in a closet in the garage. The documents say the woman's roommate, who is also Connor's mom, reported the victim missing yesterday. She told police the victim hadn't been seen since Friday. Connor lived with his mom and the victim on High Quest Drive. Police say the body was found in the closet and it was unrecognizable.
At the scene, officers located the body of a female victim concealed in a closet. There was evidence that the victim was restrained and suffered severe blunt force trauma to the head. Due to the severity of the victim's injuries, we are unable to make a positive ID at this time.
Officers are calling the victim Jane Doe until they can identify her. We dug into the suspect's past and found a string of charges. Connor has previously faced charges of burglary, DWI, and leaving the scene of an accident. He's currently in the Boone County Jail without bond. With most of the state in a drought, we got some much needed rain today. Here's a time lapse of that system as it rolled through Columbia. You can see all those raindrops on the screen as they brought some relief. But Matt, I admit I am no drought expert, but it didn't seem like we got quite enough rain. And is there any more on the way? Because we could sure use it.
Yeah, we could always use more rain. And Emily, the thing is, we don't want all the rain that would end a drought at once, because that's called a flood, and that would do even more damage on top of it. We really need these nice, slow, soaking rains that we got today over and over again. Unfortunately, that's just not going to be happening for us. Right now, First Alert Radar showing us a few showers, even a maybe rumble of thunder up from Paris to Shelbina through Moberly down towards Fayette. These are pretty isolated, and these are going to be moving out as we go through the next couple of hours, and we'll see some clearing overnight. But our next round of showers and storms, it's already forming in Nebraska. It's going to move our way as we head into the morning hours tomorrow, and that's going to bring us another round of scattered showers, even some thunderstorms with us too. The best time to see that going to be between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. We'll have a full look at the timeline, plus a look at the cool down ahead. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Matt. With the midterm election just weeks away, civil rights and religious groups are voicing what they think about Amendment 3. If passed, recreational marijuana in Missouri would become legal. KOMU 8's Rachel Henderson spent the day talking to groups who are both for and against it. Rachel.
Emily, large organizations like the Missouri NAACP or Catholics Conference recently took a stand against Amendment 3. As the November election nears, I found out that these groups aren't necessarily doing so for the same reasons.
They weighed those issues back and forth and came to the conclusion that on the whole, more harm than good would come from Amendment 3.
For the Missouri Catholic Conference, which released a statement on the amendment, youth are a big focus.
It could open the door to increased teen usage when you make it more readily available and more socially acceptable.
The state chapter president with the Missouri NAACP wants voters to choose no on all the amendments, saying there's more hidden beyond the fine print.
Unfortunately, when we dove into the amendment, we began to understand that there were some issues with it.
According to Chappell, the amendment presents a serious equity issue for Black and brown people looking to enter the cannabis business, since recreational licenses cost $10,000 each and use a lottery selection system.
What is the most important thing, and I think people often lose sight, is that this is going to end the arrest of marijuana for petty possession.
Lance Leno serves as the secretary for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, whose efforts to pass Amendment 3 have been endorsed by the St. Louis NAACP.
Concerns that the NAACP has statewide don't necessarily conflict with the issues or positions of the local units. Simply, it's a statewide response to the amendment, and this is the first time that's happened.
Leno says passing the SAFE Banking Act is what could really get more diversity in the market.
That would enable normal people to get business loans, because currently marijuana is federally illegal. So people that want to open up these facilities can't go and get a business loan for it.
One thing all the organizations have in common is that exercising your right to vote in this upcoming election, they say, is key. In the studio, Rachel Henderson, KMU8 News.
And to help you do just that, we have a complete voter's guide on our website. That guide has instructions on how you can register to vote in person or absentee. There's a look at it right there on your screen. You can also find information about the new voter ID law and what you will see on the ballot. Again, that's our website, KOMU.com. And if you're planning to vote next month, the deadline to register is tomorrow. Election officials are now turning their attention to the new no excuse absentee voting period. It starts in 2 weeks. Absentee voting is currently underway, but in order to cast your ballot right now, you have to have an excuse, like being out of town during the election. A new state law that took effect this summer adds a period of no excuse absentee voting. That means any registered voter can show up and vote absentee without a reason from October 25th to November 7th. The Cole County Clerk says he hopes this will increase turnout.
And for 2 weeks you can come in and vote. You don't have to have an excuse. So hopefully that'll drive a little better turnout. Some of the families and stuff that are busy or people that work out of the county will have more of an opportunity to come to vote. So we're hoping that increases our turnout.
The NAACP and League of Women Voters have filed lawsuits trying to stop the law that requires voter ID. The clerk says he anticipates a ruling on that lawsuit to come after the November election. Here's what's happening right now. We're going to send you out live to give you a look at the scene of a kitchen fire in a house on Alfalfa Drive in Columbia. There's a look at that scene right now. You can see it is still very active with multiple units still out on the scene. According to Columbia Fire Department Battalion Chief Clint Walker, the fire there started on a stove. Walker said there was minimal damage to this residence and no one inside that residence was injured. Well, when you drive past the gas station, do you try not to look at those prices? You know, those over there? Don't look now, because after nearly 100 days of going down, gas prices are on the rise again. According to AAA, right now, the average price of a gallon of gas in Missouri is $3.92. Prices had been going down due to a slower worldwide demand for oil. But OPEC Plus recently announced it would be cutting oil production, which has sent the price of crude oil up. Analysts at GasBuddy.com and associates at Lipo Oil predict that prices could rise to as high as $4 a gallon on average. Hospitals nationwide are preparing for the upcoming cold and flu season. Experts predict a high rate of respiratory illnesses will spike back up after 2 years of COVID restrictions helped keep them at bay. Flu cases are also rising in parts of the U.S. The number of children with RSV and enteroviruses is going up too. Hospitals are also dealing with staffing shortages as they get ready for more patients. The Supreme Court announced today it will not hear a case about whether an unborn baby should have constitutional rights. The court's decision comes after a Catholic group and 2 pregnant women filed a lawsuit. They sued the state of Rhode Island, asking for clarification on whether fetuses should have constitutional rights. The court did not explain its reason for staying out of the debate. We have an update to a national story about an inmate who escaped with the help of a jailer. Remember this one, the Alabama prisoner who escaped back in April made a court appearance today. A district attorney told Casey White the state will no longer seek the death penalty against him. White was in jail for allegedly murdering somebody in 2015. White's case got national attention when it was revealed he escaped jail with a jailer who was then killed while on the run with him. Murder charges from 1999 against Adnan Syed have been dropped. His case gained national attention when it was covered in that popular crime podcast, Serial. The podcast suggested his case should be looked at again. The Baltimore City State Attorney's Office said charges were dropped after new DNA testing.
The fundamentals of the criminal justice system should be based on fair and just prosecution. And the crux of the matter is that we are standing here today because that wasn't done 23 years ago.
The investigation into the murder is now open and pending. Well, just a couple of hours ago, protesters in Los Angeles went to City Hall to call for 3 council members to resign. Those protests started because of leaked recordings that contained racist comments made by council members. They were reportedly making comments about a white pier with a black sun. The council member who is the subject of those recordings addressed council today.
Trusted servants who voiced hate and bile. Public officials are supposed to call us to our highest selves. And these people stabbed us and shot us and cut the spirit of Los Angeles.
The recordings led the council president to step down from her role. An update now to a story we first brought you last month. NASA's mission last month has shortened an asteroid's orbit by 32 minutes. Scientists did it by slamming a spacecraft into the asteroid. The goal of the test was to shave at least 10 minutes off the path. This marks the first mission NASA has conducted with the goal of planetary defense. Well, we bet you've never heard a story like this one. Coming up, meet the couple who went from honeymooners to heroes. Plus, the Statue of Liberty made a big step to returning to its pre-COVID operations. Find out how later on in the show.
And we got some rain today, but we're still more than half an inch below average for the month of October. And while more is forecasted tomorrow, it's going to get dry again. We'll break down the pattern and the full details with my 8-day forecast.
Welcome back. This is a pretty crazy story about a couple from Rhode Island. They were honeymooning in Spain when they traded romance for rescues. Katie Benoit shares their unbelievable experience.
Doran Smith and David Scalante had been waiting 2 years to go on their honeymoon because of the pandemic. And just like the last few years, their trip to Barcelona was anything but normal. The Bristol couple says they were heading to tour a park, phone in hand taking video, when they say they noticed a group of women panicking.
I saw a flame coming out of the doorway next to the door that these women had come out of. So I said, oh my God, there's a fire.
That's when David says he ran in, realizing he was in a nursery where no one spoke English.
Kind of just instinct took over, and I found myself like looking at like 15, 20 babies sleeping, and immediately just kind of lined everybody up, and we started grabbing them, putting them into the crib.
Doran and others started helping too, getting the kids to safety as they say smoke filled the room from what appeared to be an electrical fire.
We were just literally taking cribs with a few kids in it and rolling it across the street to the high school lobby.
It was just a crazy, and it probably only happened, it was like probably 10 minutes, but it seemed, like an instant. But yeah, it turned out to be okay,
The couple says once the situation was under control and fire crews arrived, they continued walking to their tour like it was a normal day. Only it wasn't. And they had a heroic tale to tell back home.
It was wild.
We also learned that husband David is no stranger to fires. His dad and grandfather, both firefighters in Rhode Island. Definitely a honeymoon to remember, Matt. I know on my honeymoon, it was more the pace of, like wine by the pool. Right. I wasn't rescuing dozens of infants.
And then they just went back like nothing happened.
I know, let's just keep going on our tour. I'm sure the adrenaline was just pumping.
Yeah, but when my adrenaline's going, I don't think I could just be like, oh, just walk away.
Let's go tour this church.
But an incredible story. Talk about being in the right place at the right time for those folks. Satellite radar, first alert radar, showing you a few of those spot showers moving through our northern counties right now from Paris to Moberly down to Fayette. That is pretty light activity, and this is that remnant activity. Yesterday I talked about a brief uptick in rain chances for the evening of some isolated activity well ahead of the front. Well, that's what's happening right now. And we do have our bulk of the thunderstorm activity and actually some strong to severe weather across parts of Nebraska. We mentioned that too. But by the time these get here in mid-Missouri, they should weaken considerably. We're going from maybe a rumble of thunder across central Missouri at best for us as that cold front starts to advance. So let's track it for you with Precipcast. 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, we start to see some of that rain moving in. Another active morning for meteorologist Tim Schmidt to track for you on KOMU 8 News today. This shower activity could accompany with a few rumbles, nothing too significant. But if you hear the rumble, don't worry. I'm not expecting it to be a big deal. This will push through the region very quickly, and by 10:30, we're just looking at some lingering showers. So by the time you join Kesley Cabellis at noon, she's going to be talking about the clearing that's going to be moving in from the west that's going to continue to join us for the afternoon. And then the second cold front's going to move in. The second cold front doesn't have moisture with it, but it is going to bring us the cooler air for our Thursday and Friday. So first round brings the moisture, second round brings the cooler air. Rainfall totals, generally another 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch expected across the region. We could see upwards of a 1/2 inch in those areas that get in on the rumbles of thunder, but generally I think closer to a 1/4 of an inch going to be the more popular number for tomorrow. That joins nearly 3/4 of an inch of rain at the Columbia Regional Airport, a little over 1/2 an inch on the MU campus, 1/2 an inch in Jefferson City, Boonville, Versailles, and Williamsburg. Moberly was on the lower end of the spectrum today, only picking up 0.36 inches. But if they've gotten some rain here within the last hour, that all may not be factored in yet, so we'll be watching that. After the rain exits on Wednesday, we're looking dry through the rest of the week, into the weekend, and through early next week. Really, I think we're back into the dry pattern we've become very accustomed to in central Missouri, and that doesn't look to really be changing for us. So a brief bit of relief here, and I want to note the drought monitor that comes out Thursday, it's not going to include the rain that fell today. It ends at 7 a.m. on Tuesday. So just know that we may see some minor improvements for the following week, but even still, this isn't a drought buster here, folks. 60s, 70s the next few days, 50s as we head into early next week. And with all these temperature changes we're seeing, we're going to see a lot of wind too. Winds out of the south through the night gusting up to 25 miles per hour. By tomorrow, those winds become westerly and northwesterly, gusting up to 25 miles per hour. They calm down on Thursday morning, but Thursday afternoon, those winds are really going to pick up out of the northwest, gusting up to 35 miles per hour. So if you have any Halloween decorations out, be prepared. You might want to secure those or bring them in on Thursday. Just keep it in the back of your mind. We'll remind you. 61 our temperature for tonight. Winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we're at 71 degrees. Those gusts up to 25 miles per hour. It's going to be a dry afternoon. 65 on Thursday. Friday night fever looking good. Another weekend potentially with the gloves there. 70s Saturday. We're cooler early next week, Emily.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Coming up, the Statue of Liberty took a massive step to getting back to pre-pandemic normal. Find out more coming up. But first, there's your lottery numbers. Good luck. The world is returning to normal following the peak of the pandemic. The crown of the Statue of Liberty, it's once again open to the public. No one has been allowed to climb to Lady Liberty's crown since the start of the pandemic. It's one of the last COVID restrictions in the city. And if you're interested in going, don't wait to reserve a spot. Those tickets, they sell out months in advance. Coming up, it's a much needed bye week for Mizzou football. Next, why the Tigers are happy to have a break.
Rain chances for our Wednesday are highest in the morning, so you're going to want to check in with my friend Tim Schmidt. He's going to be tracking that for you tomorrow morning between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. is the bulk time of that. Maybe a rumble of thunder too. We'll quickly dry things out for the afternoon. Temperatures not moving a whole lot. 61 degrees that morning low, getting to the low 70s in the afternoon. But by 10 p.m. we're at 59 degrees. So our low temperature going to happen just before the clock strikes midnight as we fall to 44 for Thursday morning, 60s with us Thursday, Friday, 70s on Saturday, 60s back on Sunday. But look at early next week, Monday, Tuesday. Those low temperatures are getting pretty close to freezing there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Maybe chances for frost there, Matt?
Frost, certainly. Maybe even our first freeze if we can see that number go down a bit.
You know the good thing about a freeze?
Allergies.
And the bugs.
And the bugs.
All the bugs.
I'm focused on allergies.
That's important too. All right, thanks so much for joining us.